So played football, excelled in football, excelled in wrestling, got through school. Like I said, not a great student. One of my football coaches, I remember, I remember him taking me out into the hall one day, and he came around me and he said, Eddie, college isn't for everybody. Have you ever thought about maybe going to work for Parks and Recreation here in North Canton? Give you your own truck, and I just, I don't know. Gosh, I was kind of speechless. Obviously, he wasn't. He just was trying to look out for me. He knew that I just never showed. I never showed anyone that I wanted to excel in school. So he was looking out for me. But I ended up getting, I toured some schools, some smaller schools, Heidelberg for football, and one of my high school buddies, he was a year ahead of me. He had gone down to Wright State to wrestle. We had wrestled together at Wright State, and he said, "Why don't you make a trip down and check out the campus?" So I came down and hung out with the wrestlers. Woo! All I remember is somebody rode a motorcycle into over at, is it Forest Lawn or whatever what are the apartments underneath the water tower?
Forest Lane, is it?
Oh, Forest Lane. I just kind of remember someone riding a motorcycle into the apartment. And then I woke up the next morning on the couch and somebody had made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out of my face. They had put peanut butter on one side, jelly on the and slapped two pieces of bread. And I woke up and I said, "This is where I want to come. This is where I belong." So I told my dad I was headed to Wright State to be a Wright State Raider. I was going to wrestle for Wright State. And off I went. My dad drove me down to Dayton, and he wrote me a letter and gave me a few bucks, gave me a wallet, said don't lose the wallet and spend your money wisely. And I still have the letter. I keep it in a box in our safe. I'm sentimental like that. I'm my father's son. My dad, every time he watches Saving Private Ryan, like the other day, he's watched it 1,000 times, but the other day he's like, "Yeah, I'm watching Private Ryan." I'm like, "Are you crying yet?" He's like, "Not yet." That's my father. So I'm an emotional guy. I'm getting emotional right now talking about my dad. And that serves me, as an actor. My emotions are just bubbling beneath the surface of this cool facade, if you will. So I started my career at Wright State. Look, I love Ohio. I moved to California after I graduated in '91, but I've never forgotten Ohio and where I came from and the people of Ohio. They're a damn fine group, and when you move away from Wright State to wherever you go, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And another thing is you'll always have Wright State. You'll always have, whenever I see somebody that graduated from Wright State, it's like, go Raiders, go Raiders. You have that bond. It's a cool thing that I got to carry away from Wright State with me. Look, like I said, I was never a great student. I never applied myself. I don't think that I lacked the necessary IQ to perform proficiently in class. It's just my ADHD and my hyperactivity. It didn't help. It didn't help me, especially when I was in a class that I didn't necessarily wasn't necessarily interested in. So I crammed 4 years into 6, and after 6 years of academic something, whatever it was, something. I graduated. I graduated from Wright State University. I wrestled at Wright State for 3 years. I wasn't. I really excel as much as I would have liked in wrestling either. I was very preoccupied with partying. I was a big partier in high school. I mean, God bless my father. I was a wild child, and when my parents separated and divorced, it certainly didn't help me. I spent a lot of time by myself. I became a latchkey kid, and I was always looking for trouble. When I say trouble, I don't mean, I was out hurting anyone else. It was more about hurting myself. It was more about holding myself back from what I could potentially be. And this affected me in college, and it affected my wrestling career, and it obviously affected my academics. After I had wrestled for 3 years, I finally had enough of wrestling, and I think the wrestling team had enough of me. And an old Wright State University graduate, a young man by the name of John Gannan, who now is, he's down south from you guys, but he works as he works as a cameraman for the news. He's such a great guy, and he and I became friends, and then I started becoming friends with the theater arts people. A lot of my wrestling friends were like, "Yeah, Eddie's hanging out with all the theater arts people." I think he went gay. So apparently you can go gay. And if they're, all of a sudden I just decided I was a gay theater of arts major, which whatever, is fine. I mean, we used to go to this club called 1470, I think, in Dayton. And it was a gay club, but then on Thursdays it was a goth club. So, I went from being a super giant jock to going to the gay bar on goth night. And, I wanted to be Trent Reznor. I grew my hair out. I dyed it black. I started wearing all black, I made a big change. And that was another thing about me. I was always trying to figure out who I was. Like, who am I? Like, because of this, am I, because everybody wants to put you in a box, right? So I was like, well, I must be an athlete. So I have to do and look and act like an athlete, but yet I'm an artist. So, and I was always conflicted. And so this was my opportunity to go as far the other way as I could. And I remember John was doing a student film, and he said, do you want to come in and audition? And I was like, what? Yeah, what? Sure. And he was like, okay, we'll just prepare a monologue and come in, and we'll shoot your audition. So I just thought, oh gosh, what was so, I think the part that John wanted me to audition for was, 19-year-old kid. And I was like, okay, let's see, monologue, got it. So I went in and I did the Captain Quint scene where he comes in chewing on the cracker, and he puts his, so I was auditioning for the part of a 55-year-old grizzled sea captain. I remember John was like, okay, all right, well, that was pretty good. I mean, you nailed it. Not really, though, Eddie, what we're looking for, but I'll still put you in my film. So, you know, he was like, okay, now, and Eddie, in this scene, you're going to walk down the stairs and you're going to stand by the pool table and you're going to see this good looking girl who's playing pool. So, you know, I mean, I'm sure I was way over the top and terrible. But, you know, John never gave up on me. He helped me with some of my other projects that I had to do for, you know, to get my degree projects. And I'll tell you, here's what, before I moved to Los Angeles, I had a professor by the name of Professor Syfy, and he was in the communications department. And I had him for my my senior level communications class, and I had to do a presentation, which was going to be my senior presentation, and had to have a visual. You know, I had to have whatever visual. What I had to have like a chart or whatever visual things. See, 6 years of college, so. So I thought, you know, I had the whole quarter to figure it out. And the night before, I was like, oh, I know what I'll do. So I decided to do my project on a male prosthesis. So back in those, ask me why. Who knows? No idea. So at that time, this was, I mean, this was before Viagra. So at the time, men would have to have an actual surgery to have something, you know, put into his penis so it could be, so that it could help him sexually. So I did a giant chart, a cross section of a male penis, to be confused with the female penis, of course. And I went in and I did basically a 25-minute stand-up routine on male prosthetics. And the class was shocked. The class was wildly entertained. I think if I remember correctly, a few of my fellow students had told me that I killed. So, you know, I was good to go. You know, I had once again fooled the man by underachieving. And one day I was getting into the elevator just before graduation, and Dr. Syfy was in the elevator. And I got at me. Hi, Eddie. Hi, Dr. Syfy. You know, Eddie, I just want to let you know that I'm going to pass you, but I also want you to know that I see who you are. I know who you are. You don't fool me. And of course, I was like, turn on the charm, make him laugh, do what I do, deflect all the, you know, to protect myself, you know. And he was like, it just doesn't work on me, Eddie. Doesn't work. But I'll pass you. And I never forgot that. I never forgot it. So he passed me. I graduated, off to my uncle, who lived in Los Angeles my whole life. He ran an insurance company in Los Angeles, and he asked me to, hey, Greg, am I doing okay on time? If I go over, are we okay?
You're absolutely fine. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my uncle, who lived in LA my whole life, and I would go out to visit him, and he was very buttoned up, very conservative, LA country club, a very buttoned up guy. And when I would go out to visit, I knew how buttoned up he was, so I'd button myself when I was in front of him. I had the ability to do that. I was very much a social chameleon in that way. So he thought, man, this kid is amazing. I mean, this kid had, I mean, he's well spoken, he's funny, he's got a great personality. This kid should come out and help me run my insurance company in Los Angeles. So before I graduated, he said, would you like to come out after graduation and work at my insurance company? And I was just like, I had nothing else. I mean, I had no idea what else I was going to do. So I was like, sure. And all my friends were just like, you're going to do what? I mean, they're like, dude, you can barely figure out, how to wear two same socks, let alone what? You're going to be an insurance salesman? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an insurance Eddie. Excuse me. So off I went to Los Angeles to sell insurance. And I hated it. And I was terrible at it. And I was still partying really hard. And I tried to wear the costume for as long as I could, but it just eventually I revealed myself to my uncle, and he fired me. He fired me after 7 months. He fired me. I knew it was excuse me, and I was okay with it. I mean, I was it was kind of it was kind of par for the course for me, you know. So I threw the frisbee in front of my apartment and went to the beach for a year. And partied, and then I started. Someone was foolish enough to give me a job working in production, and I went from all of a sudden I'm making like $50 a day, and I had my own walkie-talkie, and chicks love guys with walkie-talkies. I'd be like, copy that. Yeah, 10-4, I'll send them to craft service. There'd be no one on there. But, they'd be like, oh, you're in a walkie. Yeah, I'm in production. I was not great at that either. For the most part, because I was still partying. It was part of my identity. It was, like I was the guy who, they store the next day or the next, like, oh, I'll never forget when McClintock went up to Keller's pub and cleared out the whole back patio after he projectile vomited after chugging an entire pitcher of beer. And that's, I apologize for being, I know it's a little graphic, but that's the way it was. I mean, I was, that's where I got my self-esteem, from impressing people in that way. I didn't know any other way. And if I wasn't impressing them by wrestling or playing sports, I had to impress them in some other way because I needed validation and I needed someone to notice me. Strangely enough, when I needed the attention, when I got it, it scared me, which is, go figure that out. I'm a psych therapist's dream come true. So I worked in production for a while, and then I had met some people through production, and they were like, we're going to take an acting class. Do you want to take an acting class with me? It was a female, and I was like, yeah, sure. You know, I kind of followed her into acting class. Luckily, it was arguably one of the best acting coaches in Los Angeles, maybe in the country or the world. Her name is Ivana Dubik. I started class with Charlize Theron. Charlize and I were together. Who else was it? Halle Berry. Who else? Oh gosh. There were several Academy Award. Elizabeth Shue, Gary Shandling, David Spade. I mean, it was chock full of talented people. I used to after I'd been in here's the thing. Oh, I forgot an important part. I decided to get sober. I decided that I knew. Here's the thing. My first few weeks in acting class, still partying. I'd been up all night. I called my scene partner. I was supposed to meet with him that day. And I said, oh, yeah, man, I'm just not feeling very well. And he goes, okay, Eddie, you know what? I'm going to get a different scene partner because I can't rely on you. And he was right. I was unreliable. So I was at the crossroads, right? I was either gonna change my life and try and be a better person for myself, not only for the people around me, but for myself. You know, I was like, when am I going to show up for me? So I decided to get sober, and all my friends fell away because they were still doing all the things that I had been doing, and I just couldn't do that anymore. So I went to acting class. And, you know, my actual acting class was one night a week, but you could sit in for as many classes as you wanted. So I just went to acting class every night, and I just, like I said, I got to watch some of the, you know, some of these incredibly talented people, and I got to participate with them. I mean, I used to go with, because I was kind of a funny, you know, I was kind of doing more comedy in my class, and so I was pretty good at comedy. And Charlize, she was like, you know, we were friends, and she was like, will you come and help me work on she was doing 2 days in the Valley. I helped her work on that, and that thing you do. So we would go to Ivana's house together, and we would work on it together. And I mean, she had just come from her modeling career. She was just learning as I was, but man, you know, I mean, you just knew by the work that she was doing in there. I mean, this girl had no fear at all. And, you know, I related to that because when I started acting, that was a thing that I think helped me a lot. I was not afraid to look like a fool. I had looked like a fool my entire life, and I wasn't afraid of it. You know, I just, so, you know, my acting, Ivana never had to get me to like loosen up. You know, I was the definition of loose. You know, I came in loose, I walked out loose, I was loose. And so first of all, let me say, without my sobriety, I know this isn't an AA meeting, but I'm going to tell you, without my sobriety, I would have nothing. Nothing. I'm married. I've worked in Hollywood for 25 years. I'm 15 years marriage, 15 years married. I have two sons that are 15 and 14. I have a house, car payments, indoor plumbing, grass. And without my sobriety, none of that would have been possible. My career, none of it. So my, excuse me, let's see, I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a manager. And people were like, Eddie, you got to get an agent, manager. And I was like, how do you do that? And a guy who was in, his name's Pat Melicano. He was in The Usual Suspects, but he was in like a really small part of The Usual Suspects. But man, I recognized him. I was like, whoa, this guy's from The Usual Suspects. And he was like, you recognize me from The Usual Suspects? He was like, I was in it for 2 seconds. I was like, no, man, yeah, but that was a weighty 2 seconds. I mean, that was a hell of a 2 seconds. So anyway, he introduced me to his manager, who happened to be from Ohio. And I had made a demo reel on my own of me doing some, like some acting stuff. And I brought him my demo reel because I thought, every actor needs a demo reel. He looked at it. He said 2 things. First, don't ever show that demo reel to anyone else. And second, normally I don't take someone your age with 0 experience, but I have a feeling about you. I think that I might be able to do something for you. So there I was. I had a manager and he got me an agent. And my first audition for him was it was going to be it was going to be an episode of Married with Children. And it was going to spin off onto a series called Enemies, which was going to be an anti-Friends. So it was going to be a bunch of kids living together, same premise as Friends, except they all kind of hated each other. It was actually really funny. And so I auditioned for that. And I mean, I can remember sitting in the audition and then we'd be doing the audition and they'd start laughing and I go, really? Is that funny? And they'd be like, yes, don't do that. Don't, just stay in it. Don't ask us questions. So they brought me back like 2 or 3 times to work with me so that I could get the idea of what I was, doing in the audition. And so next thing you know, they're like, my manager calls me. He's like, they're going to test you. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, well, they're going to take you to the studio, which is, it was Fox Network. So the studio was probably, 20th Century Fox Studios for Fox Television. Excuse me. So I was going to test, and they were going to. I was going to have to go in front of them and do this scenes for the show, and I was like, "Oh, that seems intimidating." And so before I walked into the room, I had to sign my contract. And if I remember correctly, I was going to be making $20,000 an episode. So I went from making like $200 a week as a PA, and now I was going to be making $20,000 a week on this show, and it just out of my brain. I was like, it terrified me. I mean, you know, the responsibility of not just like, but like, wow, it was almost bigger than me. You know, it was bigger than me. And I went in I passed the studio test, and then they tested me at the network. And I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And we walked into Sandy Grushow was his name. He was president of the network at the time. We went into his office. It was a giant office, wood colored, you know, oak, beautiful woodwork. And all of the executives from Fox Network were in that tiny, I mean, for the 30 people that were, I mean, comparatively, they were all packed in there. And I was at the center. And they were all looking at me. And I had like an out of body experience. Like, you know, I just was sitting above myself looking. And I didn't do great. I didn't get the job. But the fact that I tested on my first audition for Rick he was like, let's go, kid, let's go. Let's get rid of this. Let's figure out these nerves. And I still, to this day, after 25 years, I don't know what it is. I try and, you know, like say a little serenity prayer before I go into my auditions, you know. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And, you know, it's helped me a lot. Let me just quickly go. Sorry, I hope I'm not boring you guys. Is anybody bored? Raise your hands. You're bored?
I think we're all good at it.
Before I let's rewind. Let's go back a little bit. I got a commercial agent, and actually I got what's called hip pocketed in the dance department because I had no credits and I had no experience, so they had to hip pocket me. And I was like, "What's that mean? What's hip pocket?" And he was like, "Well, we're telling people that you're a dancer." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, no, you have not. I mean, no, if you ever saw me dance, no." And he was like, "Well, don't worry, you're not going to have to dance." And I was like, "Well, what do you?" And he was like, "They had me down as a street mover." And I was like, "What is that? Like street mover?" And he's like, "Well, you know, urban dance, like urban popping, locking." I'm like, "Dude, no." So he called me one day and he said, "I have an audition for you for The Young and the Restless." And so he goes, "But it's a dance. You have to dance." And I was like, "I told you, man, I cannot dance." So I got in there, and you know, all the guys were like stretching and doing all the stuff, and you know, whatever dancers do to get ready. And I was just over there like, "Okay, all right." And then they were like, "Okay, that guy." And then he would do his dance, and you know, and then they were like, "Okay, and this guy," and he would do his, you know, dance. And then they were like, "Okay, and you." And I started doing the Spicoli from Fast Times. And I was like, "Hey, hey, hey, hey." And the two women casting directors were like, "Oh my God." This is what I heard. "Who are you and how did you get in here?" But they were laughing at me. And I was like, I don't know. But here I go. And they gave me the job. So my first speaking role on TV was on The Young and the Restless. And that kind of set the tone for, like, I was like, okay, so all I have to do is go in and be like, you know, just be who I am, you know, who I am. and that'll be good. That'll be enough. I mean, look, it necessarily isn't true, because as the work deepens and I've gone, and then when I discovered that I could do more than just comedy, when I could do drama, there's a little bit more work involved. Just as far as like basically learning your lines and all that stuff, which was another big thing for me. I never had studied. I didn't know how to study. I had to teach myself how to study and how to learn pages and pages and pages of dialogue. And it was all part of my sobriety and part of I didn't want to go back home to a prodigal son. I wanted to make my father proud. He had done so much for me, and I wanted to make myself proud. I wanted to make my father proud, and I wanted to make, honestly, I wanted to make the state of Ohio proud, and I wanted to make my hometown of North Canton, Ohio, proud. It was, like I said, I grew up as a team guy. I was a team football player, as a team wrestler, and to me, the team is, there's all, team McClintock, me and my dad and my sister, team Vikings, my high school, team Wright State, team Ohio, team America. I mean, that's the way I've always looked at things. So after that, things just took off for me. I stayed sober. I stayed in class for several years, and really, because I didn't want to be a poser. I didn't want to be, I wanted to, if I was going to do this, I wanted to know what I was doing. I wanted to be the real deal. I mean, all the people that I was in class with had come from NYU. They had come from, oh gosh, whatever, all these amazing liberal arts colleges across the United States and through the world. There's a gal by the name of Andrea Bendenwald. She's from Wright State. She's an actress. I worked with her out here. There's a student named Michael Dibb, who's now I've become friends with out here. I came back to Wright. Look, all right. One day, then Wright State contacted me, and they said, "Would you like to host our?" I can't remember how many millions of dollars they were raising with Tom Hanks.
It's 150 million.
150 million.
Yep.
$150 million fundraiser, black tie, for Wright State University. And I mean, I cried. I just, like, if my story is a story of redemption, man. It is. It's I gave myself a chance. I never gave up on myself, and I had people that believed in me. And I got to come back to Wright State University, a place, by most accounts, if you had told any of the people around me, they would be like, "Is he still alive?" And I got to host the $150 million black tie event at Wright State University. And as I was up on stage, excuse me, they brought out Dr. Shoup. And Dr. Shoup came up on stage, and I got to give him a big hug. And, it's like moments like that keep me going. And Dr. Shoup has passed now. He's gone. But I mean, one of the proudest moments of my life, being able to come back there and do that for Wright State University. And you know, I'll tell you one more quick story, which is another incredibly proud moment for me. I always wondered, you know, as an actor, like, what am I doing? How am I changing? You know, what is this? Is it all about, you know, is it still really all about me? You know, because acting is very, very me centric. You know, it's all about me. And I just wanted to be able to, like, I wanted to affect the world in some way. I was at a convention in Dallas, Texas, and I had a young man walk up to me, and he limped up to me. He's a young kid, and he just said to me, he goes, Eddie, I want you to know that I was in Afghanistan. I'm a former Marine sniper. I was in Afghanistan, and I stepped over a remotely detonated IED and almost lost both of my legs. They medevaced me out, and I spent about 2.5 years in the hospital with surgeries, having surgery after surgery after surgery. And he said, Pete Lattimer, which was the character I played on the show, arguably the biggest success of my career, show on the Syfy channel that we did 5 seasons, and I was I mean, it's tough for me to say, but I was the star of the show. Okay, I was number one on the call sheet. Now you can decide who was the star, I guess, but I was number one on the call sheet. I mean, talk about. I mean, I think that's why it was. Well, hold on, I don't want to get ahead of myself. This young man said Pete Lattimer kept me alive. Pete Lattimer kept me smiling, and he kept me strong throughout the surgery after surgery after surgery. And I just said, oh man, you know, thank you so much. I mean, it was such a big compliment. Anyway, we talked for a while. He left. The next day, he came up to me again, and I was like, hey, Danny, how you doing, man? What's going on? He's like, I brought you something. And he handed me his Purple Heart. He said, I want you to have this. I owe so much of my recovery to you. I said, Danny, I can't take your Purple Heart, Brad. I can't. Thank you. I'm honored, but it's just it's too much. It's too big. And he goes, don't worry. I got blown up in Iraq too, so I have another one. So he had gotten blown up in Iraq as well. So he had 2 Purple Hearts. He gave me one. And it is one of the greatest compliments I've ever been paid in my life. And I keep that Purple Heart in a safe at home. And every year I try and reach out to Danny on Facebook and celebrate what's called his Alive Day, the day that he lived instead of dying. Experiences at Wright State are some of the best times of my life. I made friends that have been lifelong, you know, people that I love as though they were my own blood. I made there are people at Wright State who that were there with me who at the time never really gave me a second look because I was a whirlwind. I mean, they stayed out of my trajectory because they didn't want to get swept up in it. Now, you know, embraced me. And, you know, I guess what I'll close with is just don't ever give up on yourself, as trite as it sounds. You know, just keep pushing. And if you ever need someone to talk to, man, I'll talk to you. If you want to move out to LA, I'll give you my number. You call me. I don't know if I'll be able to help you, but so many people, me and so many people at Wright State have helped me that I feel like I owe it. I owe it to myself, and I owe it to Wright State, and I owe it to my fellow human. You know, because we're all just trying to get by, right? And with that, I will close up shop, and I will once again thank you for participating, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you so much, Eddie. That was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you.
Do you mind answering some questions?
Yeah, I mean, what would be cool is if we could actually, instead of everybody having to type them, it'd be better if I could say hi and meet people.
So if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Eddie a question.
Hi, I was wondering if I could ask a question.
Hi, Samantha.
Hi, nice to meet you. I was wondering what was your main motivation to stay sober and really go for your dreams? Yeah, sorry, I came kind of late to the meeting.
Oh, no. I'm thinking my main motivation, life. I wanted to live, because I mean, frankly, I was, you know, I was either on my way to jail, the hospital, or the casket. And I decided that I wanted to stay alive. And I mean, I know it sounds extreme, but that's just the truth. I had put myself in so many precarious positions that it was only a matter of time before, you know, my luck ran out. And then, you know, I met my wife, and together, she and I I met her at a meeting, an AA meeting, and she's a year more sober than I am. So when I had no time, she had a year, and so she chicken hawked me out of the meeting, and that's my answer to that. Is there did I answer it? Okay.
Yeah, any answer is good. But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Of course.
Hi, Eddie. My name is Karen. How are you?
Hi, Karen. I'm looking for. Oh, hi, Karen.
Hey, I have a question. I was one of the fans of the Warehouse 13 as well. So you
Yes.
think they would revive that show, or maybe do a reunion movie? Maybe you can put a bug in their ear.
Man, they have so many bugs in their ear from me already. I thank you for the question. And thank you for watching the show. You know, I when the quarantine hit, you know, my wife and I were looking for shows to watch, and we were flicking through, and I was like, "Oh, babe, look, Warehouse 13." And so I casually put on the episode, and because I had never really watched it, you know. I mean, back when we were shooting it, I would watch to make sure that I didn't look, you know, completely foolish. I would be like, I can live with that. But we actually watched the first season, and when it finished, my wife looked at me and she goes, "That was a damn good show." And I go, It kind of was, huh? I mean, the fact that, you had comedy and you could learn something, you had history, you had a family, the family unit, how the family unit interact. I mean, it was a land of misfit toys, which, I consider myself to be a part of in life. So to me, it was a great mirror for life. And I really had a great, I have a great fondness for having worked on that show. So I've tried several times, Karen. I've gone to the former head of the network, no longer there. Syfy itself, I don't know if you watch any of Syfy, but it's gone back to its kind of dark roots. There's not a whole lot of comedy on there anymore. And I've been told, that there's not really a place for it. But certainly if it never happens, it won't be because of me. I would love to go back and revisit Pete.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm crossing my fingers for it.
I actually kind of jokingly pitched the first return episode. So it's raining, London night, red telephone kiosk. The camera pans down. A shadowy figure makes a phone call from the kiosk. Soaking wet, he says, "Mike's, please, can I come back? I'm sorry. I don't know what I did. Just give me a second chance." And the response on the other end, Pete, it's just not going to work out. Okay, we're through. To which Pete responds, "Micah, please don't let it end this way." Then in the background, "Micah, darling, who are you talking to?" To which Pete says, "Is that HG?" And Micah says, "Yes, Pete. Goodbye."
Well, there you go. There's the whole scene right there. I like it.
They said no.
Oh.
Because everybody always wanted them to get together, Micah and HG. I was all for it. Hey-oh. Hey now. So that's the longest answer to the shortest question ever, Karen. But
It's a great answer.
I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying.
All right.
You can let us know who we need to write to, and we'll start a mailing campaign from Wright State.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sci-fi, I guess. Sci-fi. Anybody else?
This is Marilyn McCauley here. What years were you at?
Hi, Marilyn. Well, let's see. I graduated from Hoover in '85. I came to, so it still would have been, I think it still would have been 85, 86. I got to Wright State. So from 85, 86 to then I graduated in 91.
Looks like Marilyn actually has some difficulty connecting. She has a little marker in her side, so I don't know if she actually finished her question.
Oh, here she comes back. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
Did you get to hear what I said?
Not all of it. You went away, or I
So
went.
I got there 85, 86. I got there 85, 86, and then I graduated in 91.
Thank you.
So let me tell you, my voice is all acting weird because I'm up in Canada right now. I'm up in Vancouver. I'm doing 2 weeks, a 2-week quarantine by myself in this room in Canada because I'm doing an episode of a new TV series called The Mighty Ducks, which is from the movie The Mighty Ducks with Emilio Estevez. And so Emilio is doing the series, and so I'm up here with Lauren Graham. So it's going to be Emilio and Lauren Graham and myself. I'm Lauren Graham's ex, but I'm like a rock and roll singer who never kind of let go of the dream. So they sent me this track that I have to sing. So I've been walking around my apartment. So I have to play the guitar and sing this song in front of all these people in like, you know, at my show. And so I'm standing in the mirror, you know, I mean, it's so silly. I'm a grown man. I'm standing in front of the mirror singing this song, like, and I mean, it's so ridiculous, but so I've been singing a lot and my voice is affected a little bit. So I apologize for that. Did I see Bob Grant had a question? Yes. Can we go to Bob?
Eddie, how you doing?
Hi, Bob.
Hey, I have a question behind the scenes. You'll remember this, but we sent you a shirt. It's been maybe 10 years ago to wear on Warehouse 13. I need to tell everybody, getting a hold of you was like trying to get a hold of, I don't know, it was impossible. I remember I went through the Syfy channel. They finally connected me, and you were so unbelievably gracious. We sent you a Wright State shirt. You wore it on episode, but I'm dying to know, Eddie, how difficult was that when you roll out there and say, hey, everybody, I'm wearing this shirt? Did you get all kinds of, what are you doing, Eddie? Or like, how'd that sort of roll?
First of all, Bob, thank you for being so supportive over the years, man. You know, I really appreciate everything that you've done, and you know, the fact that we've been able to stay in contact has been really cool. When our wardrobe gal, our wardrobe mistress, which is what they call it up here, back in the States, they call it like the head of wardrobe department. She was the coolest, man. I mean, she was the coolest, and they you know, I just went up to her and I was like, is it okay if I wear this shirt in one of the episodes? And she was like, of course. Of course. I mean, most of the after season 1, you know, when we came back for season 2, they kind of let me do whatever I wanted in regards to my wardrobe, mostly my casual wardrobe. So if it was my casual wardrobe, I usually got to pick what I wanted. So I wore North Canton Wrestling t-shirts. I got to wear my Wright State University t-shirt. I had a shirt that said 362947 that I had made that was a shout out to my best friends from high school. So 36 was my football number. 29 was my best friend Steve's, and 47 was my best friend Tim's. So I love being able to do that. I love being able to, I mean, part of it is like, I mean, I suppose there's a part of it that's kind of like, you know, it's a little ego bump, you know, it's a little ego bump, like, but mostly I just want to be able to like say hi to my friends, you know, say hi to the people that supported me and helped me to get to where I you know, was going. Anyone else?
Very cool for all of us, for sure.
Thank you, man.
Chris, did I see that you had a question?
Yeah, not so much a question as just
Hi, Chris.
just wanted to connect, say hi, Eddie. I also was a communications graduate. You know, it was another body type ago, so it was a long time ago. But I really loved hearing your Lou Shoup story. He was one of those people in my life as well, and he is such a great guy. And in fact, we had a lot of amazing professors in the communications department. I took a lot of the theater classes as well. I really wanted to be, they didn't have a film department back in those days.
Yeah.
So I took classes wherever I could take them that had to do with media, with production, with TV, with film, with whatever. So I ended up floating around in departments, but settled on communications and ended up getting a bachelor's degree in education, actually, to teach communications in high school. So, but Lou was just one of those really inspiring people, and it was so cool to hear you say. Now, I graduated 78, but then I came back to work at Wright State in 92. So you had just left. But what was so cool is a lot of those. all those professors were still there, and I was like, oh no, they knew me as an undergraduate, you know. I had to so I
Now
relate a
look
little
at
bit too. Of how you have to put on a different face sometimes, like I've grown up, trust me.
Exactly.
So
You still
good.
work, you still work at Wright State?
No, I retired 3 years ago, and you can see in the background maybe ukuleles and mandolins and guitars hanging on the wall, and that's pretty much all I do now.
Oh, nice. Nice. A Renaissance man.
Oh, I love it.
Well, thank you, Chris.
So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Aaliyah Renee, and I just wanted to thank you for sharing your story because it just encouraged me to keep pursuing my dreams and keep working on the things that I want to do. So I just really wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Leah. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I guess I got to the end of my story there, and I was like, well, what's the moral here? And I guess, like you just said, you just do it because you love it. Don't do it because, like, I never got into acting. I never ended up in acting because I thought I was going to be some big star, or because I thought that I would be wealthy. I just did it because I enjoyed it, and because I was pretty good at it. I didn't know what was going to become of it. I mean, if I was going to be wealthy and if I was going to, have enough success so that it brought me fame, then so be it. But that was never my goal. So, you just have to, if you love it, just keep doing it. Why not? It's like painting or any kind of art. Like, why would you quit doing it just because you weren't becoming wealthy at it? So, are you an actor?
No, I really want to work. I have a lot of things that I want to do. I really want to work on acting and animation and doing voiceover acting and also working behind the scenes as well, just everything in the industry. But I've never took an acting class before and I have no experience with anything. So I really want to learn everything.
What year are you?
I'm graduated in 2020 with my mass communications bachelor degree.
Oh, you did?
And
From
then,
Wright State?
yeah, and then I started,
cool.
right now I'm currently enrolled in a master's program at Wright State as well, but it's in digital education.
You got to take an acting class.
I know.
I mean, look, I think everyone should take an acting class. I mean, it really kind of forces you to expose yourself, and when you're in the world, when you go from the university setting out into the business world or whatever the world, you're gonna be forced to go to job interviews. You're gonna be forced to meet people and speak to people, and I think an acting class, I've seen so many people just not to say blossom, but like really come out and go with large groups of people, different groups of people, and I think it really helps people to figure out who they are too. It becomes very introspective as well.
Right.
So let me know how you're doing in your acting class.
Yeah, I'd love to speak with you sometime about the industry and everything.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll leave my after this is over. I'll leave some kind of with Greg, some way to get a hold of me or whatever.
Sounds good. Yeah, you can come through me. I'm at the university, Leah, so you can contact me.
Okay. Do you know of any acting like internships or places in Los Angeles to look for or go to or classes?
Yeah, I can send you to Ivana, my old acting coach.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, Eddie, I want to thank you for your time tonight. I think we're out of time.
Ooh.
I know we're a little bit over, but I do want to let everyone know that if you've not seen Warehouse 13, it is available on Amazon. Please do check it out. And I believe The Mighty Ducks is going to be on Disney Plus. Is that correct, Eddie?
Yes, sir.
So is there?
I'm gonna be rocking it out.
Would you like to give us a preview of the singing?
No.
Okay. Thought I'd ask.
No, I would not. The director just texted me before I came on here, and he goes, "Hey, would you record yourself on video singing the song and send it over so that we can see like if you're any good?" I mean, he didn't say it quite like that, but I'm just like, oh my God. Like, so after we get off here, I've got to like sing and play air guitar and record my, wow. Okay. Hello.
Maybe you could do some dance, Eddie.
I'll do this for
do-
Coley.
Dance.
Yeah, bruh. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you. And I look forward to maybe meeting you all sometime if I get a chance to come back to Wright State.
We would absolutely welcome you back with open arms.
Alrighty.
Absolutely.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Eddie, so much for your time. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye.